All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. This segment is called Michael's Magic Moment. It's my opportunity to play a little snippet from one of our previous episodes, which resonated with our listeners, that I received feedback from, or I felt really had an impact on some people's lives. Hope you enjoy. For those that have had a business before, or have a business at the moment, would be able to testify that it's full of ups and downs. And there are going to be moments that you absolutely love, and there are going to be moments that you don't. For me personally, I could even argue that this relates to our personal lives, going through different careers, going through different experiences, investing, relationships. There are going to be ups and downs, and there are things that we can learn from these experiences, and there are things that we can learn from other people's experiences. Today, I've invited Arif Memis onto the show to talk about his experience. Arif is a business owner, and he is the former business owner of Cowch. Cowch is a dessert bar. It's a cafe, and Arif can tell us more about it in a moment for those that haven't heard about Cowch. But Cowch was first established in 2014, and it became a franchise in 2019. I've been there. For many people, most people that I know have probably been to a Cowch here in Brisbane, and most of us have positive things to say about it. The experience has always been amazing. But for those that don't know, Cowch recently went into voluntary administration, and it's hasn't been an easy journey for Arif. And I reached out to Arif because I wanted to hear about his journey, because it's not an easy thing to go through for anyone, but especially for someone that had a successful business. Arif, thank you so much for joining us.
Michael, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Would I be right in saying that it was a successful business? Because that's the impression I get. And, and if you can also maybe touch on, I guess, what Cowch was for those that haven't been to Cowch, because we've got listeners all over Australia. But if you could explain that and explain, I guess, how popular it actually was, because for me, I thought it was great. Kids loved it. I loved it.
I appreciate that, mate. Thank you for the kind words. Cowch was a dessert cocktail bar. My wife and I came up with the concept living in Sydney. That's where we were from, and we're proud Queenslanders now for the past 10 years. But we came up with the concept because we experienced friends of ours that were having kids at the time, and there was people of different demographics and different religious beliefs were going out at night, and we couldn't find a place to go after a meal, before a meal. So we started to look at different competitors and honestly, it took 3 years, and we followed people around, and we understood that we wanted to create a place where people felt welcomed. Groups of females felt welcomed, and I felt so comfortable somewhere where I could take my child at 8 o'clock at night after a meal, and I didn't have to go to a bar to have a beer or a cocktail. And my wife could have a piece of chocolate cake. We could have a good coffee, and that's where the concept was born from. We decided to move to Queensland to start the concept here. So whilst people say, "Oh, you're a dessert cocktail bar," I thought our motto and our belief was always that we were a place where people could create memories and share great times just over good food and being happy. So that, like you said, that opened in 2014, and look, it was tough. We were probably I probably built a Sydney business in Brisbane, and Brisbane let me know. But we quickly evolved, and it wasn't until probably about 4 or 5 years in, and I overheard someone saying, Cowch is an institution. Now, why that may not mean much to others, to me it means a lot, because when I first came here to Queensland, I heard different people saying that Cowch will never make it because freestyle is an institution. Everyone knows freestyle. No one's going to go to this new Cowch. And freestyle was a much similar concept, but they did food and everything. That closed shortly after, and I've always aspired to have people call Cowch an institution. So even though it's very sad that we had to close our doors, but when you say, was it successful? I think it was, because if people looked at us and said that was an institution in Queensland, and we helped shape, where people had their birthdays and created memories over food and things like that, that's how I define what happiness is and what success was. So I think we did a good job. I wish I was still there, but I think we had a good crack at it for the last 10 years, and I'm pretty proud of what we achieved.
Yeah, I think you should be. And also, can I ask then, what happened? What I guess you can get into as much detail as you'd like, but what essentially happened? At what point did you work out, okay, this isn't working, we need to make some serious hard decisions?
Great question. Look, there's always many parts of different to be businesses, like you say, and you need an opportunity, number one, and that's the money and the idea. Number two, you need the ability to execute, and I believe number three is the enthusiasm to keep going. And number two, believe me, we were very enthusiastic, and I believe we had the ability. But having such a capital-intensive business, number one, where I refer back to the opportunity, was always tight. And so there's many ways to open a business. You can raise debt. You can have equity where you have a partner that comes in with the financial backing. We always had debt. So throughout the COVID period, COVID was blessed us a lot, and it was very good. There was a major decision made, and that was to become vertically integrated. And what that means is we wanted to control our supply chain. During COVID, we weren't able to get pancakes and waffles into Australia. And then I quickly realized that pancakes and waffles are actually an imported product. There's no one makes them here. So in my wisdom, I thought, well, we need to change that, one, because I need them in the store, and two, because there might be an opportunity here. So COVID was very good, like I said. So we decided to become vertically integrated, and I bought a factory and recruited a team of 10 pastry chefs, and we underwent the massive, now looking back, massive undertaking of opening a production facility. And that was partly by debt, but a lot of it was by cash. So coming out of 2020, sort of the end of 2021, we had moved our Broadbeach store because it was unsuccessful at Pacific Fair. We moved our Broadbeach store, and that cost, everyone knows, raw materials, not only from buying flour and sugar and milk, but also building materials skyrocketed during COVID. So what I thought was going to be a $200,000 move was a $500,000 move. We also opened our first franchise store in 2021. Whilst we got the franchise license in 2019, we opened the first one in 2021. And then we built our production facility all in the same year. So everything was great. I thought I timed everything perfectly, and I thought I was a genius. But then Omicron hit, and whilst we didn't have shutdowns in Queensland, there was a lot of bad press around. A lot of people didn't go out, and not only were we carrying the stores now, but now it's carrying the whole production facility and also the head office costs. Then we had the floods early in 22. So my capital that I had in the business in October of 21 was about $500,000. And I had thought, okay, that should be enough to get me through. I didn't see that Omicron was about to come on. I thought we're at the back of COVID. I didn't see that we're going to have floods again. Then we had the war in Ukraine that's still going, unfortunately, and raw ingredients started to skyrocket. We had staff jumping ship constantly for little to no reason. So we spent probably a couple of $100,000 on recruiters in that year, in the first 3-4 months. So what I've learned is the financial backing I thought I needed to get through that period. I probably needed 4 or 5-fold. So I had to go and borrow more, and unfortunately 2022 was probably the hardest year I've ever had in big business. Things never came back the way they were pre-COVID, during COVID, and whilst wages deserve to go up for everybody, it put a significant squeeze on the business margins. And with raw ingredients going up, when we first opened Cowch, I remember we used to make 20% profit or EBIT. In 2022, I remember I looked at it in about October 22, and I think we were about at 4.2%. And that was after we put our prices up, we reduced reformulated our products because now we're vertically integrated. That was even though we weren't buying at commercial rates, at retail rates. Our waffles and pancakes, we were making everything. So the margins significantly got squeezed. And when you have so much debt on the business, I sort of knew that I was in trouble in sort of July, August in 2022. And, we tried to start to cut costs and tried to make some radical moves, but it wasn't enough. In hindsight, should we have been more aggressive? Yes, but hindsight's an amazing thing, and we'll all be billionaires if we had hindsight. So, I led with my heart, and I thought I did the right thing, and thought I made the right decisions every step of the moment. But unfortunately, when sort of January, February came around of this year, it was the beginning of the end. I turned to consultants for advice, and unfortunately, there was too much debt on the business. So by March, we called the administrators in, and because there was a risk of trading insolvent, and no one wants that, because you become personally liable and open up for litigation. So we went into administration, and then went through a whole. The administrators went through a period where they were looking for investors, and that didn't work out very well. And unfortunately, we liquidated July 14, so 4 months on. Hope that. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
It's good you've given a timeline, and I like that you said that because it is important to lead with your heart. Obviously that's the whole reason you even started the business, because you were thinking with your heart. But it is hard, and you're right. Hindsight's an amazing thing. But I'm going to ask you a question, and I mean I know there are so many different ways to answer this question, so do it in the way that you feel comfortable. But I want to ask, what would you have done differently looking back at it? Because and I know there's different parts of it, from relationships to family to friends to employees to management to opening up different stores, etc. But if you could name one or two things, and you may not know the answer to this yet, this may be something that you need another year or two to process. But just looking at it now, could you name one or two things that you would have done differently looking back?
You're very good at asking the probing questions, aren't you, Michael? Look, I think I touched on it at the start, was the debt piece. I think anyone that starts a big business and is solely reliant on debt to get started, that's definitely one thing that I've learned. Probably the most important thing. If there's no equity and you don't have a war chest of funds to not rely on the banks, and not saying that the banks are bad. It's just everything is you don't know what's going to happen with rising interest rates, with banks saying they're going to fund you this, and then they change their tune and they pull the funding. All these things could happen. So not being reliant on the banks and having a war chest of funds is definitely, I think, the number one. And the number two thing, just to throw a second one in there, and I've been on a journey of finding myself, and I always sort of laughed at people that said things like this, and sort of maybe even considered it a bit weak. But it's definitely been a journey and understanding what I did wrong and what I could do better. Is having the family time and putting. I guess some people call it work-life balance, and I was someone that would put 100 hours a week in, and probably consider when people go on holidays as the owner, I'd be a little bit bitter and a little bit have a bit of resentment there because I wasn't going on. How dare they go on holidays? Don't they know we're working on something important? So reflecting back on that, and now having time, the 6 weeks now that I've had off, is my cup is so full right now, and God help any position that whatever I do next, because I've realized that I whilst I was present at home, I was physically present, I wasn't mentally present, and I wasn't emotionally present. And I think hence the reason why I was probably leading a lot emotionally at the place of work, and I wasn't. I'm still processing it, but I believe the work-life balance thing, and like I said, I probably laughed at people that would say that most business owners probably put in their life's work and they work harder than anybody else, but having that balance where you actually take time off with your family, with your kids, have those in-depth conversations with your wife and your children, it will make you such a better person at work. So I think they're the two biggest things that I've learned so far, and I'm sure they'll continue to change and develop. But yeah, 6 weeks on, they're my non-negotiables moving forward.
So you do feel if you had more of a work-life balance at that time, you would have probably had a different mindset in the business and probably performed differently.
Look, in hindsight, yeah, 100%. I 100% believe, because your brain gets clouded and your decisions get clouded around what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And whilst in that moment you believe that you are making the right decision, it's not until you step back and you reflect later on that and it takes you being vulnerable to accept, hey, yeah, I probably didn't make the wisest or the best decision. I didn't have the clearest mind at that time. So, mate, if my staff hear me, and I'm sure they will, because I'm going to share this with everyone, but when they hear this, they're going to say, wow, you've definitely changed, because that's a big thing for me to say and to learn from and to grow from.
These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a free 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au. Yeah, it's because it makes sense. Like it's like, for example, again, I don't go on many holidays, but we just went away on our actually first family holiday overseas to Bali, and actually one of our recent episodes I talked about it. But it's when you do go away, that you're right, because you sort of clear your mind and you get a chance to sort of step back a bit and just to look at things and to reassess things, and you do perform differently. And even in work and life and business, like if you have that work-life balance, even if it doesn't have to be going on a holiday, it could be just relaxing for an hour at night or during the day or at lunch, or having a day off every week or every second week. It just gives you that chance to sit back and look at things and, I guess, have a clearer mind. And I love that you touched on the personal side of things as well. And I know that's probably not easy to do openly with people, but it is important. I talk about it all the time, having work-life balance. I'm definitely not perfect at it, but we talk about how important it is, and that it's important to not just focus on one thing. You need to have a balance in your life. And a bit of what you talked about, I could sort of, again, just as an advisor, I can relate it to that as well, because as an advisor, when I talk to a client about their money, we sort of sit back for a second, we look at the figures, and it's my job to look at things from an outsider's perspective, but it's me and the client's job as a team to look at things together as an overall picture, if that makes sense, like holistically, and to sort of work out, okay, this is where this is where that is. this is where things should be. Okay, what if we do, like, it's easy to strategize when you're looking at it from an outsider's perspective. And you probably did that in your business. You probably thought of it, you probably were more of a business owner. But when you step back and get out of that environment, yeah, you can't compare, can you?
Yeah, no, 100%. And, towards the end of the administration period, I was so conflicted about what was happening and what was going on. I wasn't in a good place, and there was articles written about Cowch, and people attacked the business and my integrity and who I am, and all sorts of things. But at the end of the day, and I read every single comment, and it hurt. And I said to Harvey, my wife, I said, we need to I need to take some time off. I need, and it was we're coming within a week, 2 weeks of liquidation, but we had a week off. I had a week off, and I just spent time with my girls, my wife and my daughter, and we did things, and we spent time to get together, and the clarity that I got from that, and the calmness that I received, you can't buy that. And it's not until you do things like that you realize how foggy you were in any decision that you were trying to make. So, mate, I'm glad you went on a family holiday. It's so important. So, yeah, but it's definitely you definitely get a different perspective. So I thoroughly recommend it to everyone.
And it's hard being attacked, isn't it, as well? Like, it's like, for me, I take a lot of these things personally. Like, I'm just one that I'm naturally a people pleaser, so I like to keep everyone happy. So when someone isn't happy, it does affect it. I do get upset about it personally, but publicly, to see things publicly, I think until you've gone through something like that, you don't know. You can't relate to someone that's been attacked publicly until you're attacked publicly. But I can't imagine that would be easy. And I think for you to sort of to realize that you had to take some time away with your family and just to have a think about things, I think that's massive, because it's very easy for our pride to get in the way, isn't it? And you probably had to put that aside, didn't you? Like, even the decision to go into voluntary administration, like that's a big thing, because I mean, I could, when you go into business, you normally go into business because you're not a quitter. You're normally someone that's willing to go through the tough times. But yeah, would I be right in saying that it was a hard decision? Like, and did pride come into it as well?
100%. Look, I believe my motto is that we say to ourselves, the family is the Memis family never quits. And this does feel like a quitting, but when you say pride, that's one thing that I carry myself with, and I like to carry my head high, not because I don't think I'm egotistical or anything like that. I just think, I'm proud of who I am and what we've done. And it did come into it, mate. And that's why I was so conflicted, because it was brain versus heart, and my heart wanted to keep going no matter what, especially because there was family money involved from different family members. So it comes a point where is my mental health more important than trying to keep going. The best thing that I came up with was, if I need to be here for my family, I need the best way that we can do that is to clear the slate, start again, and see where the path takes us, because the way we're going would be another 5-10 years of grinding and kicking and punching, and it may not get better. The economy may not turn around, the business may not turn around, and there was humans, and I always valued my staff as my family. So there was some staff that took it pretty roughly, and weren't I'm sure they look back in hindsight now and probably reflect on the things that they said and did. But there were some staff that are still helping me through this till today, and we're helping each other. So, but going back to the comments, yeah, they're whilst it hurt at the time, and now I look back and I think everyone's entitled to their opinion. You take it with a great grain of salt, and you don't know what experience they're going through when they're writing something like that. So, I just, it was tough, but we move on. We keep smiling, and I think the best thing that we can do, and the best person that I can be now for my family is to lead them in the right way and to keep smiling and keep moving forward.
And you're right. Like, if you could have kept going for another 5 or 10 years, even longer, and things may not have gotten better. And but to me personally, and this is probably me just being optimistic, but I would honestly say that it's pulling the pin on something like that. Deciding to go into voluntary administration. In a way, it's not quitting either. It's just probably pivoting your journey as a business owner. And as a father and as a husband, and just doing things differently. And it's like buying a car, selling a car to buy another car. You're just changing vehicles, for example, or you're just moving towards something else. And honestly, I would say that it's. I mean, you've said it yourself, but it's something that you are going to look back. And I don't think. Yeah, of course, you're going to have some regrets, but it's going to be a journey that I feel you would have. You are going to learn from even more than you already have. But you mentioned staff, you mentioned people around you, and as a business, you probably had suppliers. There are probably some people that are still owed money. I guess what would you like to? And you've probably talked to most of these people, but is there something that you'd like to say to those that have been hurt or maybe let down, or maybe disappointed, or maybe someone that just loved going to the shop because it was their favorite chocolate coffee joint? Is there something that you want to say to them?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Look, there were a lot of suppliers that were hurt, some a lot more than others, and there was only a couple that have probably were very hard to talk to and very hard to deal with at the end. And again, that's their prerogative, and I sincerely apologise for that it worked out like that. But it's a testament to some of the suppliers, and I remember one in particular who done all our cleaning for all the stores, and the owner of the business came within a few days of us announcing that we're in administration, and she walked in, she was in tears, and I thought the conversation was going to go very differently, and we had a bit of a emotional connection, and we cuddled it out, and she said, I'm okay, and I don't want you to carry the burden of the financial loss that I'm going to suffer with you, because it's okay, and I've let it go. And I thought, that is this lady I've known for a few years, but the power and the strength of that lady to say that, and the release that it gave her to accept it, and the release that it gave me, I thought, as a human being to another human being, I thought that was the most admirable thing that I've seen and I've experienced in my life. So I thoroughly appreciated that. And there was a lot of customers, going on to the co-customers, there's a lot of co-customers that, I got hundreds of messages from people thanking me for allowing them the 10 years opportunity to create the memories, and people telling me that they've had every birthday there for the last, 5 years, 6 years, and, from memorials of it used to be the favorite place of this young girl's that's passed away now. Unfortunately, her mum actually came with her sister to the closure of our Chermside store just to say thank you and just have one last experience. And I follow them now on social media, and we remain in contact. So I'm thankful that we're able to create that type of place, and I wish we could have kept going, but I know there's going to be people out there that like I said, are owed money or upset that we're not around, and it wasn't because we didn't try and didn't. At the end of the day, you have a big business to provide a certain lifestyle and for the people doing it, but it wasn't. It was pretty tough, and it wasn't doing that, and it was hard to succeed and hard to keep going. So that's why the decision was made to shut it down, unfortunately.
And and to be honest with you, I think like I'm someone that has been owed money before from someone that went through something very similar, and it's not a good feeling. But at the same time, the reason I wanted to have you on as well is I feel like it's important for you to share the other side of the story, because while somebody, a supplier, for example, or even an employee maybe, is owed money and may not get all that money or any of it, you've also lost a business and a livelihood. So I think this is one of those situations where no one really wins, and it's a situation where it's important for those to understand the other side of the story as well, and to know that it's a hard situation for anyone to go through. And coming out of it, you've mentioned this already, but you've mentioned your learnings from this experience. But is there a tip that you'd like to give? That you'd like to shout out from the top of a rooftop, just for any business owners listening to this, or even people that could learn something from this experience personally? You've mentioned family, you've mentioned, the financial side of things, and feel free to rehash one of them again if you'd like. But what would you say would be the number one thing that if you could stand on top of a rooftop and just shout out to everyone, what would it be?
Michael, I recently was speaking to someone that, went very high up in government, and they mentioned that 15% of all small big businesses are going to go broke in the next 6 months. This is only a few weeks ago. And they also mentioned an amazing stat, which I still ponder on till today, is that the median income for a self-employed person is 70,000 Australian dollars a year. Now, I don't know who can live off $70,000 for the amount of money that a business owner, the amount of time a business owner puts in. They don't stop when they come home. Their phone is always on. They live and breathe that business. To earn 70,000 is disgusting. And it's a testament to human beings that we would put ourselves through that just to earn such a small amount because we're trying to make a difference. If that's the case, and that's not going to change overnight, I think the number one thing is work-life balance. And if I would love to scream from the rafters, scream from the top of the story bridge that the business says if it is what it is and business is tough, and we may only make 70,000 a year to provide ourselves, that's fine. Then take the time needed where you can be better. And if spend that time with your family, because no one wants to see 15% of small businesses go broke in the next 6 months. And we have a big business so we can have a better life for ourselves. But putting 100 hours in a week and then earning less than what you can get out in the market, being an employee, it's just not worth it. So work-life balance is definitely the biggest thing that I would tell any business owner today.
So Arif, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, what would you say would be the best way for them to do that?
I think they can look me up on LinkedIn. All my contact details are on there. It's Arif Memis. And if you jump on, you can. There's my phone number. There's my email. There's nothing to hide. So feel free to reach out. I'm happy to have as many conversations as possible. And if I can help any business owners out there with one word or a couple of things of advice that could help them change their course, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, nice. That's very kind of you. And I think this, I just can't wait to see what you do next, Arif, to be honest with you, because I feel like I think you've achieved a lot, so much. And I feel that You've learned from this experience, and I feel like the next thing you jump into is going to be massive. Whether it's a career or whether it's another business, whatever that may be, I have a feeling it's going to have a massive impact on the world. I really do, or at least Brisbane.
I appreciate that. I'll have to jump on in a year's time or 2 years' time. We can talk about it, hopefully.
Definitely. And also, lastly, I like to finish all my episodes off with a dad joke as well. So this is actually one of my favorite recent ones. But why did the Apple Watch lose the fight to the grandfather clock?
I don't know.
It's because the clock had hands.
I love it, Michael. Thank you, mate.
It's pretty good. No, it's a pleasure. Do you have any dad jokes you wanted to share? I didn't prep you for this, but
I don't off the top of my head. I've got one, but right. It's probably a bit R-rated, so we don't know who's listening. So I won't say it.
We'll just wait for the recording to stop, and then you do it. But thank you so much for your time, Arif. Honestly, I appreciate it so much, mate. It's been an eye opener, and it was, again, in my opinion, the other side of the story, and something that we can all learn from. And I think a few people will have a listen and share it with their friends and family.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity to share my side.
Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.